We will now call to order the regular meeting of the Lompoc City Council for Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Vega.
Here.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Present.
Councilmember Cordova.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Ball.
Here.
Mayor Janelle Osborne.
Here. We will open the floor for oral communications for closed session. You have 3 minutes to speak. If you'd like to call, the number to call is 805-875-8201. We have 2 business items. One is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 549569D1, Jesus Corrales et al. V. City of Lompoc et al. U.S. District Code CD Cal case number 2:21-CV-06629-CJC. And item number 2 is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9, parentheses D1, City of Lompoc v. Mission Hills Community Service District, Santa Barbara County Superior Court, case number 20-CV-02225. Seeing no one rise and no one call in, we will close oral communication for closed session, and we will reconvene for open session at 6:30 p.m. We will now reconvene the regular meeting of the Lompoc City Council for Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Vega.
Here.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Present.
Councilmember Cordova.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Jeremy Ball.
Present.
Mayor Janelle Osborne.
Here. Please join me with the invocation from Chaplain Keith McClellan, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
That represent a legacy of hard work and dedicated commercial and civic leadership. Bless those who now choose to make Lompoc their home. May they benefit from the contributions of the past as they too contribute to the present and future of our city. Thank you for the work of our city council members, our business leaders, our faith-based leaders, our healthcare providers, our first responders, those who teach and serve our children, and those who volunteer their time and resources in service to our community. Bless our dedicated city manager and leadership team and each and every hardworking city employee. I pray you keep them safe from physical, emotional, and spiritual harm. As we meet tonight to carry out essential tasks, help those who have prepared agenda items speak with clarity. May their experience and knowledge be respected and valued. May all deliberations and decisions made tonight be truly in the best interest of our city as a whole. May all involved be sensitive and understanding of the many in our community who are facing financial hardship, especially those who are challenged to meet even basic needs of food, shelter, clothing, and safety. Help our council members and staff listen with understanding, wisdom, and goodwill. Give them a spirit of service. Remind us that we are all stewards of that which you have created. Give us hearts and minds to lean not only on our own understanding, but in all things acknowledge your authority over all things great and small. And finally, all-knowing God, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of your purpose. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will now invite Greg Gilday with our electrical department to come up while I read our recognition day for electric line workers.
Mayor, very quickly, I'm gonna give the report on the closed session. As you're making your way down.
Do that. I completely forgot we had one of those.
The council met in closed session to discuss 2 items of existing litigation that are on the agenda, and the council discussed those with staff, but there was no reportable action.
You know, there was no reportable action, so I just kept going. So thank you for remembering to take care of that. So the more important thing, which all of you are standing here for, is really about Electric Line Worker Recognition Day. And this is really important in our community. We are one of the few communities in the state of California that has our own electrical department. We own our own power. We deliver it to our system over PG&E transmission lines, but once it reaches our city limits and enters our system, we manage it. And these fine gentlemen here and all those on staff in the electrical department are who respond when we have an outage, and we get great response times. Unlike those poor souls that are on PG&E or SoCal Edison who have to wait for hours and sometimes days, and I know there was a recent outage up in the unincorporated area, and they might not have gotten power back till really, really late at night. These guys respond within 10 minutes. And usually, in very rare cases, is it any longer than a few hours. So, this is in recognition of all you guys. Whereas, since 2014, the state of California has recognized electric line workers, the profession of electric line worker, the contribution these brave men and women make to protect public safety, and expressing support for designating a State of California Line Worker Recognition Day. And whereas the city of Lompoc joins other communities across the state in recognizing and celebrating the profession of electric line worker and other job classifications with line worker certification, therefore, we honor our electric division personnel for exemplary service to the city. And whereas this profession demands passion, dedication, and ongoing training, and require line workers to be available to work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, to construct, repair, and maintain infrastructure to keep the electricity flowing. And whereas line workers are often first responders during storms and other catastrophic events, working to repair broken and damaged electrical lines under hazardous conditions in order to make the area safe for other public safety heroes. And whereas line workers play a vital role in the lives of our citizens by maintaining and growing our electrical infrastructure, and they put their lives on the line every day by working with many dangers of high voltage. Now, therefore, I, Janelle Osborne, Mayor of the City of Lompoc, California, do hereby proclaim July 10th, 2022 as Electric Line Worker Recognition Day, and call upon all citizens and businesses to acknowledge and thank the line workers you see for the selfless and dangerous work they perform every day to keep power on and the public safe. Thank you very much for the work you guys do.
Thank you.
City Manager report?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Recreation Division for putting together a 4th of July event. I also wanted to thank Ray Ambler for putting a year-end closing, and that's our fiscal year. He does that every year, and that's really great. It's always exciting to close the budget year and start a new one. That's all I have.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to consent calendar. And I believe we have a few statements that need to be made prior to public comment. So we'll have Mr. Garcia, followed by Mr. Malave.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, audience watching at home. Items number 6 and 9 are amendments of the compensation plans for managerial, supervisory, confidential, and unrepresented city employees, and the contract for the city attorney services. They state the salaries and benefits for those city employees and compensation for the city attorney's firm at the levels listed in the staff report and the attachments. And staff's recommendation is to adopt on the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, Mayor and Council, on item number 9, due to a financial interest, I'm going to recuse myself from participating as the city attorney in that item.
Thank you. All right, we will now open the floor for public comment on consent calendar. You have 3 minutes to speak. If you would like to call in, you may do so at 805-875-8201. If you would like to speak and you're present, you may come to the podium. Did we have any written communication for consent calendar?
No, ma'am, nothing.
Okay. While we wait to see if there are any calls, I'll read the process for consent calendar. All items listed on a consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted after one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the council vote. Any items withdrawn from the consent calendar for separate discussion will be addressed immediately before the second oral communication near the end of the meeting. Seeing no one call, oh, Do we have a consent calendar item? Come on up for public comment.
Thank you. I'm Davika Stalling, CEO for the Lompoc Valley Chamber. Good evening, Mayor and council members. As I'm sure you all are aware, that the Chamber provides access to valuable resources and relationships to other collaborative partners for our small business community, which has resulted in numerous small business support events and workshops, as well as grant opportunities for underserved business owners throughout a well-nurtured relationship with the Santa Barbara Foundation and the Economic Development Collaborative. Through an outsourced company, the Chamber has been responsible for bringing several new businesses to the Lompoc community. We not only support Lompoc's small business community, but the community as a whole. Through our efforts and partnership, we support our local youth with a very hands-on approach and even taking the lead through our Economic Development Committee by spearheading some city beautification projects. Not to mention the benefits of tourism by having an actual brick and mortar to disseminate information and make exclusive referrals to our local businesses, which contribute to the economic success in our community. Of course, this is just a glimpse of the services that the Chamber provides, with an overall goal of enhancing the quality of life in the Lompoc community for all. So with that being said, I implore you all to approve the extension of our contract with funding to further our great and valuable work throughout the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am proud to stand here before you as the chairman for the Lompoc Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. I cannot express enough the great value that the Chamber offers to the Lompoc community. Our organization offers a wide range of invaluable resources and support to the Lompoc community as a whole. The support ranges from small business resources to leadership opportunities for youth and adults, military support, to Vandenberg, as well as a host of community-wide events that I am happy that we have brought back this year. Through the city's funding, we are able to continue to provide these much-needed services while contributing to the quality of life to the Lompoc Valley. With the new leadership from our CEO, Communications Director, and a complete board of directors, the Chamber has had the privilege to reinforce our purpose and mission in the community. I hope that you all see the value in the work that the Chamber has done and will continue to do. On behalf of all stakeholders associated with the Chamber, I want to encourage you all to support our efforts with continued funding and the extension of our city contract. I am truly grateful for all that you do and your continued support for all we do.
Thank you. Seeing no one else rise and no one call in, we will now close public comment on consent calendar and bring it back to council. Any questions or a motion? Councilmember Starbuck.
A couple of items. On items 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'd like to get read into the record, what is the compensation amounts for my ARPA funds that we've used, total cost for the city?
Good evening. So, if I'm understanding your question correctly, you would like to have read into the record the...
It's available in the staff report, but for public to hear.
Okay, so the 22-23 increases for the various groups. IBW increase for COLA and equity was $624,557. The essential worker increase was $486,712. For MS&C and unrepresented, the COLA was $490,255, and the essential worker is $308,415. We also had essential worker for IAFF at $97,258.
Thank you. One last question
Sure
while I
thing.
have you up there. I want to jump ahead here to item 7. One of the things that caught me on item 7 was on page 3 of 4 under fiscal impact, where contingency, if there is not sufficient to cover the local match and contingencies from city airport funds, the management services director will establish a new internal loan from the water fund. What I'm curious about is, are we expecting to have to go back into the water fund for the internal loan, or are we just doing that as a contingency? Are we that close on getting the match?
So we are close on getting the match. We don't know at this moment whether or not we will have to go into the internal loan. It will depend upon how much of the contingency that's built into the estimate we have to use. It would be a small amount.
I just kind of wonder, because we don't really micromanage the airport enterprise, and I know that we have another loan from the general fund to the airport enterprise, and then we're going to have this. So what I guess is I don't want to see the airport bury itself in loans
Right.
back to the general fund and the water fund.
Right.
So,
And the loan that right now, the airport that we had talked about with the fence for the general fund, that is something that will actually just be paid as soon as we have the final numbers on the costs of the fence. And we're looking at probably about $43,000.
how much?
$43,000 for the airport share of that fence.
Yeah, I just don't want it to get lost in the
Sure.
big finance world that council would work.
Okay.
Thank you, Christie.
Sure thing.
Councilmember Ball.
Just for clarity, if you could, I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions on those 3 through 6. These are very simple, very basic questions, but for context, how many employees roughly do we have at the city of Lompoc?
Roughly about 400.
About 400. And I know what it means. I think it's pretty simple, but just for our edification, what is COLA when you say COLA adjustment?
Cost of living increase or adjustment.
So cost of living increase or adjustment. Is there any context that you're personally aware of where the city of Lompoc pays any sector of its employees more than, are we the best paying city of any, that you know of?
So the short answer to that is no, we are not the best paying city. I think the key purpose of a cost of living adjustment, not just to adjust for the cost of living, but is to make sure that compensation is sufficient to retain our good workers.
One last question. Is our rough percentage of increases or raises, are we outpacing inflation right now?
No.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Vega.
I'll make a motion that we accept consent calendar.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. And that passes 5-0. All right. We will now move on to oral communications. This is your 3 minutes to discuss or bring up any city-related matters. If you'd like to call in, the number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. And remember to mute your television, PC, or radio. You have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Deb Andrews, Lompoc. Thank you for putting up flags of the Republic on the light poles in celebration of our revolution, liberty, and freedom. This, our second revolution, is not just for us, it involves the whole world. The World Freedom Alliance aims to facilitate fundamental freedoms worldwide. That gold-fringed flag will have to go. That's for the corporation. Thank you for the new water fountain and the water bottle filling station incorporated. It's very nice. Appreciate it. Thank you for getting the city council meeting videos put up so anyone that's not able to attend, that's interested, will have ready access to them. Thank you for doing that. I encourage our mayor and the several police officers positioned at the door after the last meeting to continue that practice after every meeting. Your generous offer of your time would allow those individuals who are uncomfortable at the microphone to speak with you directly about city matters. I've had several people share with me that they're not able to come up to the microphone. So, be nice if you could. It was thoughtful of council to waive the smoking restrictions in the park on behalf of the cannabis gathering for people from outside of Lompoc. It was thoughtful of our Parks Department to clean up the park on behalf of the AIDS bikers passing through Lompoc. I encourage our council and city departments to put Lompoc citizens first. Do thoughtful, kind, generous initiatives for us first. Let's be selfish. Could we offer more activities for youth at our parks and recreation center? Could we have craft shacks in the parks to lend badminton, croquet, chess, or other board games? Could we offer simple handcrafts at minimal cost? Are all police officers outfitted with body cameras? Flex time is a convenient option for city employees. Along with flex time, we should have time clocks to measure productivity. Perhaps more concern and attention for Lompoc would naturally occur if all employees of Lompoc were required to reside in Lompoc as a condition of employment. These are just suggestions for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and public, and city staff. My name's Diane Burns, and I live on Bush Avenue. Been there, I own a home there, and I've been there the past 15 years. I'm here tonight to bring to your attention an issue that really bothered me, and I don't think people really know about it. I live right across the street from the multi-purpose trail. You can enter the multi-purpose trail on Central and North A there. And there's a stand of eucalyptus trees that happens to be a habitat for raptors, owls, and red-tailed hawks. And recently in April, the city hired a crew to come and clear cut down the eucalyptus trees. And I ran out there and pointed to the owls or to the hawks, and they stopped chopping them down. But they promised that they're going to come back in the fall, and that's what concerns me. I think that trees are a benefit to our community aesthetically. As I mentioned, they're habitat for raptors. They store carbon dioxide, and they also act as a windbreak. There's several issues I know that the city's concerned about. One is the height of the trees are about 100 feet tall. Their age, they're roughly at least 80 years old, and nobody likes eucalyptus trees. During previous years, they would just selectively trim the trees and clean up under them. But now the issue is, let's just get rid of them. I've been consulting with an environmental lawyer, and there might be something called CEQA issues involved, which is a California Environmental Quality Act that cities are required to disclose to the public any projects that might have an environmental impact. And I'll find out more about that and bring that to your attention. In closing, I just wanted to say that I'm not alone in this project. I have before me that I'd like to give either to the city clerk or the city manager over 100 signatures of my neighbors who are concerned about these trees also, basically because of the birds that we enjoy there. Raptors are just a phenomenal, phenomenal bird. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no one else rise and no one call in and no written, is there any written?
Yes, ma'am, we did receive an email from Ms. Lee Weir. It was provided to council, put on the website, and has been provided outside in the lobby.
Thank you. All right. We will close oral communications and come back to the agenda. We have item number 10, approval of the modifications to the winter averaging billing method for wastewater charges, adoption of resolution number 6524(22). And we have Robert Cross, our financial service manager, to deliver the presentation.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, council members, we're working on it. She comes up.
Just because we upgrade the technology doesn't mean we're any faster.
Yes, thank you. My name is Bob Cross, and I've been a city employee for 12 years and recently became the financial services manager. I oversee the utility billing and treasury divisions, and in that capacity, I bring a resolution forward to propose a modification for the methodology that we bill wastewater units. So some background, since 2006, we have billed wastewater based on the average water consumption during winter months, the assumption being that most water used during those months goes through the drain and not used for watering. So we use the January through March winter averages. We have a 6-year look back, and we drop the high and low years in order to reduce the year-to-year variance. And in March of 2021, the city converted the utility billing over to Munis in phase 3 of the Munis conversion. Munis does not calculate based on multi-year averages, so we're here to propose a new method. This would take effect July 1st of 2022 and would be in place until such time as we can complete a comprehensive rate study. So the new method is that for customers who had less or equal usage in the winter months of 2022 than they're currently billed, we would use that winter average for 2022 as their usage for the upcoming year. For customers whose usage was greater, we would take it a step further, and we would compare their 2022 consumption with their 4-year average of 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2022. We'd look at that 4-year average and bill based on the lesser usage of the 2022 usage or that average. We would exclude 2021 as an outlier because the impacts of COVID-19 have skewed the water usage for that year significantly. Some additional notes. The changes in usage would be capped at 4 units for residential and 10 for commercial. That would be how we would control the year-to-year variance, since we're not dropping high and low years anymore. And we would still use a 5-unit minimum for all customers, residential and commercial. So our recommendation would be to adopt Resolution 652422 to be in calculating wastewater usage based on the new method effective July 1st, 2022. The alternative would be continue with the current method for calculating usage. It would require manually looking up all customer accounts, which is approximately 9,000. Currently, under the new method, we would have to look up about 40% because those are the ones that increased. And then extracting 4 years of alpha along with determining the March 2021 usage during the conversion would require about 60 additional staff hours. So we would propose adopting the new method for calculation, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Vega.
Sir, after a couple of years here, are we going to be catching up where everything will be in the computer using the Munis system to where you could actually go back and not use the averaging instead of going back to the older method, except for, say, 5 years from now, you go back 3 years and then you can use that method? Is that a possibility depending on the council's, what they do?
Right. At this point, Munis cannot calculate multi-year average, even if the data is all in there. It's not a function. We're apparently is a rather unique billing system, and they don't have other customers who do that. So in order to reprogram it, either they would have to reprogram it, or we would have to request it, which would mean we would have to pay for the reprogramming. So the thought is that we may come up with a new method when we do a rate study, or we would continue with this method or modify it somewhat.
Can you explain how a rate study would calculate into a new method if the technology's not there and the programming's not there? Because it seems like for all the decisions we make, we're always put up either yes for here or no for here, because under the scenario you gave us, we need 60 additional staff, plus we have other people that we need, so which means it's not even a viable option.
Well, it's only 60 additional hours.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
yes.
it's still 60, right?
Right, exactly. That's still significant for us. I don't know exactly how we may have to come up with a flat rate and then an additional amount per usage. I'm not sure how we would have to do that. That would be part of the rate study that would have to go through.
I appreciate your answers. It just seems like it's not fully vetted out right here. You know, it seems like we have one method that's approved and one method that's, we can't even vote on it because it's 60 extra hours and it's going to be a manual input.
We can do either one, but the idea is that the new method would require less staff time, and it's not going to significantly impact. I've reviewed a lot of the data, and it's not going to be a significant impact. Only to very few customers would be negatively impacted.
Yeah, for instance, if you guys have done the calculation and it's a family of 2 or a family of 1, does the averaging still work?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying, as far as fairness is involved?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Mah.
So I have a couple simple questions, I think, might have complicated answers. So I know this, the majority is going to have a positive impact with this, but some will be having a negative impact. So let's talk about that. You suggest here 70% will see a positive impact, 30% won't. So whose bill's going up and whose is going down? And let's talk about
Right.
the negative side of things.
Okay, so almost all of the 30% that are going up would have gone up under the old method as well. It's not, the main people that are going up is because their usage in 22 was higher, and that would, whether that was part of a 4-year or 6-year average, they'd still see an increase. So those are the 30%. People are not being increased by more under this method than they would be under if we use the current method.
Okay. Similar question, same vein there. The only thing that, and again, this is just, hopefully you can explain this a little bit. Let's see. It says it won't negatively impact, but the remaining customers would likely have seen an increase under the previous methodology as well, but without a cap on the amount it would increase.
Right.
Talk to me about the cap before and the cap after and
Sure.
any details. Of
So if we had people, when they first begin, for instance, they take on the average of their customer class, which is like right now it's 7 units. So somebody who first starts is billed at 7 units, say they start in July. If their first winter average, they're at 12 or 13 units, they would increase to that 12 or 13 units. Under this method, they'd only increase 4.
Okay, that makes sense. Last question, is this update to the methodology, meaning the way that we do this, is this now the common methodology for many municipalities to do this?
I can't say that. I haven't contacted other municipalities to find out how they bill. I'm not certain of that.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Cordova.
So to be clear, though, both methods require a manual component. So it's not like we're moving away from that. We're just simplifying it and reducing the level of data that we go back on to be able to come up with a more current and more efficient average, correct?
Right.
Which is still fair for the customers.
Yes.
Okay. You were going to say something?
Well, I would say either method would require at this point a manual for this year. We can retain much of what we do this year if it's needed for next year too.
So in upgrading our system to Munis, the keyword upgrading, so how does Munis work, or how would Munis work to calculate usage if we're not doing a manual method? How would it ideally work, or how is it created to work?
Munis is designed to only use a one-year average, so it would take everybody's usage from January through March, and that would be their new rate, regardless of it, whether it was 5 or 15 or 20. We have ways of using the minimum, but there's no way of controlling how much it would vary from year to year, and if there was a low water usage or high water usage, it would increase by that to that new amount.
So by the city of Lompoc, I guess using a manual method, we're allowing more, I guess, numeric components, which I'm trying to interpret this as, or at least what I'm understanding is that it's a little bit more of a fair advantage for our customers because we are looking at more than one particular year. And I want to clarify that and say that publicly so that the customers understand, the difference between what we're deciding on tonight, and that way they're aware, and I understand it as well as a customer, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vega.
Yeah, again, it seems like, as you mentioned, the reprogramming of Munis would have to be, and I'm not sure what the extent of that would be, if there's a lot of money involved there, to actually get it away from your department to have to do those manual inputs, you know what I mean? Because I think you'd probably like that if it was averaged on multi-years, instead of the single years that you just mentioned. So not sure if that was even an afterthought or if that is a thought in the future we can talk about.
We can't do it right now anyway because we're not on the most current version of Munis, so it's not an option for us at this point.
It's funny because how long has Munis been in operation?
The business?
No, you want
for us?
Munis here in Lompoc, because it seems like by the time we get it all programmed, it's too old and we have to do an upgrade. It seems like that's what I'm hearing.
We're getting caught up.
That is
I got you.
software in general. That's software in
No,
general.
no, and I understand it's not anything with you guys, but I have to, it seems like it's getting older like we are. And by the time we get something done, it's too old.
We anticipate being on the most recent version by the end of the year, hopefully,
Thank
for
you, sir.
billing.
Appreciate it.
See, you got what you wanted like that.
Yeah, thank you. I got my answer. Gosh.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Man, I'm feeling old, but, $2 million for a computer. But anyhow, so in my mind, to make it clear, we're doing a 12-month average now, not just the January, February, March, if this is accepted.
No, it would still be just the winter average. It would be the January through March of 2022.
But it'll be that year, and then it'll be done the following year, so we're not, the whole averaging system is going away unless we opt to pay the huge amount to upgrade Munis.
Under this method, it will continue until we have a rate study. We will try to have something fixed during that rate study.
At which point, we're either going to raise rates or lower rates or whatever, but until then, this is what's going to happen. And I guess another question is, this isn't going to affect the service we provide for the region, Vandenberg Space Force Base or the Vandenberg Village, where we're metering water and all, but now it seems as though we're kind of flat rating them. Is that how we're going to continue with these?
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cordova.
Explain that to me, the whole flat rating of,
Well, that was at our last council meeting on June 21st is when we started our working with Vandenberg Space Force Base on the sewer, and where we're going to start at $51,361, escalating at 4% each year with a 5-year contract, maximum $278,187. But it says if we goof that up, we're going to take it out of the general fund.
And it's mostly because we don't provide their water, so there's nothing to average in the first place.
Right, so these are other
So,
just
yeah.
going to be flat rated
Right.
because we're not providing the
Because we're
water
not
fee.
providing the initial thing to average off of, anyway. Okay,
understood.
got it? Okay, awesome. You're doing a great job explaining something very complex, so you're getting bonus points already.
When I found out my rates may go down, yeah.
Any more questions for staff before we go on to public comment? Councilman Brock.
This is going to be a loaded question just because it came up last time we had a meeting. take a stab at this. If you don't feel comfortable, I understand. Where does, and again, this is probably more in regards to the rate study, but where does the Utility Commission come into play in this discussion, from your perspective?
Good question. We haven't presented to them. I don't believe they were meeting, but this was something that we were hoping to take effect July 1st. So we were presenting it to council.
So I definitely see the way forward with this makes a lot of sense. I'm just hopeful that the Utility Commission will be utilized as we start having a public conversation about changing rates and why and all those things. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's the more important discussion. This is a methodology for our finance department, not rate changes. Councilmember Cordova.
Actually, the statement that Mayor Osborne just made is the way I kind of took it too, is that I would have harped on it, I would have jumped on it right away too, because I felt that the Utilities Commission didn't have a chance to look at it. But understanding that it's more of, where it's coming from, I understand that. Now I think I forgot what I was going to ask.
Well, you'll have a chance to come back after public comment. So if it comes back, you've got the microphone again. Thank you. We will open the floor for public comment on this item. If you would like to speak to it and phone in, you can call in at 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. If you're in the room, you're more than welcome to step to the podium, and you have 3 minutes. Did we receive any written communication on this item, Madam Clerk?
No, ma'am, nothing.
All right. And while we wait to see if there are any calls and eat up that time, I want to say thank you again to staff. It has been very nice to be able to look over here and see the presentation and not have to strain and turn around the other direction. And the screensaver is a lovely, relaxing, stress-reducing image given some of the topics we talk about, so I give you points for that one as well. Seeing no one call in and no one rise, we will close public comment and bring it back to council. Madam Cordova, did you remember what your question was?
I did,
Okay.
and I apologize for my...
We all have those moments.
So why the July 1st deadline? Why so quickly? Because I know that Munis, we purchased it and we started. It took us a while, I get that, and taking information and inputting information, that was a whole process, and I know that took us a couple of years, understandably, because I think we wanted to retain as much historical data as possible. That's the way I understood it. But why the July 1st deadline if you're already technically calculating right now on a manual system?
So we've calculated a lot of it, but the rate or this usage, that component takes effect typically July 1st every year and is in place until June 30th of the following year. So whatever the winter usage was, that will be people's flat rate for the next 12 months. And then we evaluate it again July 1st of the following year.
Understood. I motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion, and Councilmember Vega seconds that. Any other questions before we go to a vote? Seeing none, let's vote. And that passes 5-0. And again, congratulations on your first presentation to council. Stunning. We want to encourage our staff. It can be quite scary presenting new information that is very difficult to us, so we always want to encourage you to do well, and again, scored well. Any written communications not otherwise mentioned earlier?
No, ma'am, nothing.
All right. You have 2 more minutes for oral communications. If there is something you would like to speak to on city matters, this is your final go-round this evening. If you'd like to call in, the number is 805-875-8201. Seeing no one rise and no one call in, we will close oral communication and bring it back to council. And we'll start with Councilmember Ball, because I know he has a big announcement he wants to share with the community.
So a little personal note, just because I can take a minute. My wife and I gave birth to our first son, our first baby, this past Friday, and it was due yesterday, so it came a few days early. That's why I'm here tonight. So welcome to the world, Mr. Theodore Sebastian Ball, and thank you guys for all of your support during all that. I really wanted to go to the July 4th event yesterday at Ryan Park. I did drive past it because I was a little jealous. I wanted to but it looked like a tremendous event, a great turnout. So I'd like to thank the mayor for her leadership on that. And sounds like a lot of kids got some bike helmets and had a really good time. So I know we didn't have fireworks, at least the the legal ones that we put on, but I think that was a very successful event. And again, thank you for all the effort put into that from both the mayor and the city staff and recreation and all the players. So thank you guys.
Councilmember Starbuck.
I have no reports.
Thank you. Councilmember Cordova.
So I know that, I think it was at the one of the May meetings I had requested as one of my council requests to bring back discussion or report from the utilities department as to why we're not having utilities commission meetings, why they haven't been in place for 2.5 years, and to immediately reinstate those. I just want to know if that's going to be coming back soon, because I know that the support that I got that night from the council was that it be brought back immediately. So is there an expected time frame for that?
I can look into it. I don't have an answer for you tonight. CJ was unavailable here to be tonight, so I can get that answer for you.
Okay, just because I think it's very important for that commission to be stood up again, or to be meeting again, so that whatever discussions are to be had with regards to rates or changes, it's important for me, and I'm sure it's important for others on the council as well as the rest of our community. Thank you.
Councilmember Vega.
I'd like to thank everyone that's here tonight and all the public out there that's paying attention. Sometimes this can be pretty monotonous, and at least they explain what COLA was out there for the public viewers. And I'd like to mention that we all still need a few more commissioners for our commissions. So anybody that's thinking about volunteering, please volunteer so that we can have a quorum, and everyone that's expected to help Lompoc move forward is helping. So thank you.
I attended several Northern California Power Agency meetings last month. I serve on the executive committee, so we are in the process of working towards next year's leadership. So some additional meetings, more than normal. Again, having our own electrical is a huge benefit to this community, and that organization is one of the reasons why we have our own electrical. I attended the Vandenberg Space Force retirement ceremony for Chief Master Sergeant DeLucy, and I want to wish him and his family very lucky future on the East Coast. Both he and his wife retired that day and then went back east, so we were delighted to have them in our community. I also want to thank all of our staff who worked really hard, despite the fact that we couldn't have a fireworks show, to put together a great event. All of you who showed up for the bike parade, it was awesome. You had adults and kids, and everybody who needed one got a helmet, and we rode down 8th Street onto Cypress over to Ryan Park. It was a blast from young to small, and I look forward to doing it again. And the event was well attended. There were lots of games and great food and fantastic music. And so I think that incorporating this into future years as a way to celebrate would be really great as an expansion of what we do in this community already to celebrate the 4th of July. And I want to thank all of those in our military service locally for the work you've done, either to protect our freedom or to continue protecting it. As we celebrated yesterday, it is really important that we look at that and appreciate the history behind it, and then protect it for the future. Few announcements. Empty Bowls is back. It's a massive fundraiser for the food bank in our community. That event is on July 27th. There'll be 2 different servings, one at 11:30 and one at 12:30. The tickets are $25 each. You can either buy them online at Food Bank SBC or go to Chapter 2 Books on 8th Street, and they're selling tickets. The Spring Yard Winter Contest, historically, we've had this in relationship to our Flower Festival. We had the competition again, and so local yards that won have been announced in the local paper and on our website. So I do want to say congratulations to all of those that have been working to improve their businesses, their yards, their neighborhood associations. It really, really is impressive to see that when you're visiting our community or just driving around and appreciating our community. So thank you all. And I also want to shout out to actress Mila Jovovich. She sent another video message. This is her 4th year that she has supported our community through a relationship we have with her. And she sent out a video to all of the winners for beautifying our community. And last but not least, realize that despite us having our own electrical power, that we own, that is delivered to our community, and once in our community we manage, it is delivered over PG&E power lines. So it is going to be a long, hot, dry summer. Public safety power shutoffs may occur. So be prepared, because unfortunately we don't have battery storage. We can't keep our lights on without that. So if there's a public safety power shutoff by PG&E, we will lose power. So it's really important to look at the list we've published of what to keep around that might help you over the 24 to 72 hours that they promise us is all it will be. There are many concerns that we might actually have a few PSPS issues this summer because of the issues with the grid and how hot it is and the supply of energy that is available. So we appreciate your understanding that we are doing our best to keep our lights on, but some days we don't control that opportunity, and we'll work together to get through it. That being said, we will adjourn the meeting to the next regular meeting at 6:30 p.m. on July 19th, 2022.